This is Marketplace. I'm Kristen Schwab. Okay, close your eyes and imagine a table of sugary holiday treats. Maybe you see some peppermint bark, a Yule log cake, or crinkle cookies. Well, a common denominator in all those recipes is chocolate. And unfortunately, chocolate is becoming a more precious food. Extreme rainfall, drought, and heat caused by climate change have pushed cocoa prices to record highs in recent years. And some experts caution that most of the land used for cocoa production won't be farmable in the future. Marketplace's Amy Scott, who hosts our climate show, How We Survive, she brings us this story about new ways tech entrepreneurs are making chocolate so that hopefully we can keep enjoying it for years to come. Here's Amy.
I'm in West Sacramento, California, visiting a company called California Cultured, where they make chocolate out of cocoa cells. No plants required.
Safety glasses, we don't need them.
Yes, we actually do. Good call.
CEO Alan Perlstein is showing me around.
We sort of wrangle the cells and make them do what we want in this part of the lab.
By wrangle, Perlstein says they're actually sort of tricking the cells to only grow the tissues they want, targeting certain compounds, flavors, and fats. Part of how they do that is by feeding the cells certain mixtures of food, like sugar and plant extracts. Perlstein opens up a retrofitted pizza fridge with racks for stacking pans of pizza. Only instead of pizza, there are trays of Petri dishes filled with tiny brown blobs.
They look like little boogers, basically.
Yes.
I don't know how else to describe it.
It's basically little clumps of brown cells. So that's what they look like when they're growing inside of the cocoa pods.
Each little blob, Perlstein says, contains thousands of cocoa cells. From here, he says, it's a bit like repotting plants. The bigger the cells grow, the bigger the container the cells need to keep growing until they're ready to be harvested. To make chocolate, the cells get fermented, roasted, and ground into a powder or liquid.
We do have some chocolates if you guys are interested in tasting them.
Oh, no thanks. I'll pass.
All right, well, then let's get out of here.
Have you not seen my mouth watering over here?
Steve Stearns is head of strategy for California Cultured and a former chef. He has 3 different chocolates laid out on a platter for me to try, all grown in the lab here. The first 2 chocolates are a bit too sour for my taste.
It's not my favorite. I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
Stearns says I'm picking up on the fruity, more acidic notes. But the third one is a nice, toasty, dark chocolate.
I think that's my favorite of the 3.
Mm-hmm. It's got a little bit more bitterness to it, but it still has those fruity notes.
You and I can't buy California Cultured's chocolate yet, but the plan is to sell the ingredients they make here and also lease the technology to large-scale producers. Next year, they plan to release a product with Meiji, the company that makes those little chocolate pandas. I'm Amy Scott for Marketplace.
That's just one story about the changes coming to your dinner table. Amy has more as a part of a Marketplace special called Feeding the Family, a collection of stories about the economics of food. You can hear the episode in the Marketplace podcast feed. Holiday gatherings tend to be a time of year when people dust off some classic board games. Monopoly is maybe the most classic of them all. Growing up, Mary Pilon would play it with her family every Christmas Eve. Inside the box was the game's origin story. Monopoly came along during the Great Depression. A man named Charles Darrow is often credited as the inventor. He eventually sold the game to the Parker brothers. But Mary went on to discover another story about Monopoly, one that led her to write a book called The Monopolists.
I came to this story by total accident. In 2009, I was working as a staff reporter at the Wall Street Journal. As I'm sure as many people remember, there was a lot going on in the world of Wall Street in 2009. And a lot of people were drawing comparisons to the Great Depression. So I thought, oh, I'll just mention in passing, Monopoly came out of the Great Depression. And I was looking everywhere for the true story and I wasn't finding it. We were doing these really complex stories about securitization and, policy and derivatives. And I was like, I can't get the sentence about the board game right. I'm so dumb. And then finally, I reached out to this man, Ralph Ansbach. I saw that he had been involved with litigation with Parker Brothers years ago in the 1970s, 80s. And I said, hey, I know this sounds crazy. I'm just trying to find out what the deal is with Monopoly. And he immediately got back to me and said, oh, I waited 40 years for someone to ask me about this. Like, the story's all wrong. It was actually invented by this woman, Lizzie McGee. She received a patent for her landlord's game in 1904. And she created this game as a teaching tool to teach people about the evils of monopolies. In the late 1800s and the early 1900s, there's this huge boom of wealth. And the term monopolist, is being used in a really different way, because it's not just that people are getting wealthy in a way that we had never seen in the United States. It's that a few people are getting very, very, very wealthy. And these are names we all still know today. JP Morgan, Andrew Carnegie, the Rockefellers. There's some people who just believe that this class of people shouldn't exist. There's some people who say, you know what, if you want to make billions, that's okay, but we need to be taxing it. And with that, we also got a lot of technology. There was a lot of excitement about railroads and steel and big cities. But it was kind of a double-edged sword, I think, for folks like Lizzie McGee, who were really kind of asking these bigger philosophical questions about it all. What was fascinating to me in looking at her original Landlord's Game is that a lot of people don't know, but she had two rule sets. She had a monopolist rule set, which is similar to what we play today, which is exactly what it sounds like. You try to gather everything on the board and clobber everybody in sight. But she actually also creates this anti-monopolist rule set, which is all about breaking things apart. And so I think part of her genius is that she makes this game to teach people, hey, there's another way. But unfortunately, that anti-monopolist rule set kind of gets lost. As somebody who kind of came up through very traditional journalism, I would get asked a lot, like, why do you care so much about Monopoly? It seems so silly. I think that it's an American icon. It's a huge piece of intellectual property. It's so rare to have a hit in the board game industry. And it's even more rare to have an intergenerational one that you play. I played with my grandmother. And I think that's part of it, because I think part of the American experience is we're going to be arguing about money forever. We're a capitalist country, and we're just always going to be arguing about who gets money, how it's distributed. And, board games can provide kind of a role playing for us to explore those ideas in a way that's maybe more attainable. Property, land, money, those are all still core to the U.S. economy today.
Marketplace is supported by Progressive Insurance, providing direct car insurance rates side by side with other insurance carriers. Customers can see rates and find an option that works for their needs. Now that's Progressive. Learn more at Progressive.com. And by Bitwarden Password Manager, providing secure autofill for credit cards and passwords across devices, designed to help with in-store or online holiday shopping. Available at Bitwarden.com.
This final note on the way out today, saw this in Axios. We've been talking about how many families' budgets are stretched this year. That has a big effect on charitable organizations that are preparing for less giving and more demand. The Salvation Army predicts its bell ringers will need more than the $100 million it raised last year to help the 28 million Americans it serves. Another group, One Warm Coat, has seen a 25% increase in nonprofits applying for coats this year. And in Feeding America's most recent survey, 95% of food banks reported equal or higher demand in October than in September. Our theme music was composed by BJ Liederman. Marketplace's executive producer is Nancy Fargali. Joanne Griffith is the chief content officer. Neil Scarborough is the vice president and general manager. And I'm Kristen Schwab.
WNYC supporters include Concordia Conservatory, a community music school in New York and Connecticut, whose goal is to